Story by Agile Feeling 5474. A very polite glitch. I had a very strange encounter in the Stockholm subway today, and I can't stop thinking about it. I'm not saying this was paranormal. I'm not saying it wasn't. I genuinely don't know what to make of it, so I'd love to hear how others interpret it. I was sitting in the subway with my friend when an older man sat down next to us. He looked completely normal, well-dressed, calm, articulate, very academic vibe. Nothing about him felt chaotic, drunk, or unstable. He asked us if we were Dutch. We said we were Finnish. He apologized politely and made a small comment about Finland. Then he asked, "May I ask you a question? Do you think time moves faster inside this train than outside?" We said we didn't know. He explained relativity and said Einstein proved that time does move differently depending on speed. He then asked another question. True or false? Time moves faster where your head is than your feet are. My friend guessed it was true. He said yes, because of gravity. He clearly knew physics and explained it in a very matter-of-fact, professor-like way. He mentioned KTH, the Royal Institute of Technology in Stockholm, and implied he had studied or worked there. Then he said, "Last question. If I told you I'm a time traveler, would you believe me?" We laughed and said no. He calmly said, "I actually am. I've traveled through time." He didn't say it jokingly, not dramatically, just calmly, like stating a fact. Then he added, "A time traveler always recognizes another time traveler immediately." My friend asked how you recognize one. He said, "We just met, so I won't tell you yet. But when you're an old man, I will visit you and tell you." He said this specifically to my friend. We got off at the same stop. He wasn't creepy, didn't follow us, didn't try to prolong the interaction, just wished us a good day and walked off slowly. What's weird is not what he said, it's the energy of the interaction. He didn't feel unstable or joking. He felt extremely calm, intelligent, and intentional, like a professor having a casual conversation. I know the rational explanation is simply eccentric old academic man, but the encounter has this oddly eerie feeling that I can't shake. Has anyone experienced something vaguely similar? How would you interpret this? Well, I think that time is a fluid. It's like a river. We're flowing down it every single point or moment. And per Einstein's general relativity, we're always flowing through it at the speed of light. We can trade between speed through space or speed through time, but we're always traveling in one or the other, in shared buckets. The more we travel through space, the less we travel through time, and vice versa. It's not a one-to-one ratio, meaning if you travel a bit further in space, a bit faster in space, that doesn't mean you're going to trade a bunch of time. The faster you go, though, it's exponential, and the closer you reach the speed of light, the more exponential it becomes. That's the Lorentz transformation. This guy sounds like someone who, I don't know, I wouldn't say it's a prank. I would say what he stated was accurate. Everyone is a time traveler. But it does seem like he was implying something more concrete than just the basic laws of physics as we understand them. I think he was trying to say that, well, I am from the future, and I've traveled back in time. But without directly saying that. Or maybe he can pause time, because he was mentioning that he would see you again? Pausing time does not appear to be possible unless, again, you're traveling effectively at 100% the speed of light, which isn't possible for various reasons, unless you start at that point like light does. But that's massless, so it has a different interaction with the Higgs boson field, which... Anyways, it's like traveling through tar or something. It impedes flow of mass particles, but another tangent there. Needless to say, what he said, as I understand it, is accurate. Could he be from the future? Maybe. In theory, there's nothing physically against that. But there's no known mechanism to travel back to the past. And if we did, there could be paradoxes, which opens up the multiverse theory, which, if you travel in the past, you're not in the same universe. It's the MCU style time travel, not the Back to the Future time travel. which I prefer, the MCU style, which these are both accepted theories, but of course there's no way to test any of them, so they're not even scientific theories, they're just hypotheses. Curiosities, you could say. Welcome, I'm Paul, this is Dave. Today I have 12 Glitch in the Matrix and paranormal stories for you. My favorite story involves taters. Alright, like the video if you feel so inclined, and let's get to it. Story by PVZ, War for Garden. The 670-gram Anomaly. I drink chocolate milk with chocolate powder every single day, once a day, almost always at the same time. I've been doing this for at least 9 years. I can count on one hand the days I didn't have it. The can of chocolate powder has always stayed in the same place ever since we got this new cabinet, and I'm the only one in the house who uses it. These details are important. One day, I went to grab the can of chocolate powder, and it simply wasn't there. I looked carefully at the shelf where it always is, and here's an important detail. I saw the other objects that sit behind the can of chocolate powder. It's a large 670-gram can, if I'm not mistaken, and I could see the items behind it. That's another important detail. I checked the shelf below and nothing. I went to another room and asked if anyone had seen the can. They said no. I went back to the cabinet, and there it was. I have a clear image in my mind of how I saw the can when I came back. Part of it was sticking out of the cabinet. So logically, it would have had to have been placed there after I had already opened the cabinet, because if it had been there the whole time, wouldn't the cabinet door have pushed the can further inside when I opened it? So it doesn't make sense for it to have been sticking out. And it doesn't make sense that I somehow missed it the first time, because like I said, I could see the objects behind the can, and I didn't see it at all. I know it sounds silly, but for me, who's been doing this routine for so long, this has never happened before. I'm not really someone who believes in these kinds of things, but I'm not 100% skeptical either. I'm the type of person who would only fully believe if I saw something with my own eyes, and that's what happened that day. You might ask, is it possible someone in your household was messing with you? Like if you do this predictably every day, do you have a prankster living in your midst? But the only person that could do that was my mother, but she was the one that I asked if she saw the can, and she was in her room. And when I was going back to see the cabinet, she was following me, behind me. So it is impossible that she had the can. I'm not close to the other people in the house, so it wouldn't even be fun to play a prank on me. I even asked my mom now if she remembers where the other people in the house are at the moment, and really, nobody could have taken it. One wasn't home and didn't drink chocolate milk. The other was sleeping because they work nights. And they also use a different brand of chocolate powder, so they have their own can. The only logical explanation could be that I was simply blind and didn't see it the first time, but it's very unlikely because it wasn't a quick glance. I carefully inspected the entire cabinet. To this day, I still wonder if I was genuinely blind for a moment, or if it was some kind of glitch in the Matrix or something else. What made me finally share this today was that I was watching a podcast about UFOs, spiritual entities, and topics like that. They briefly and jokingly mentioned entities that aren't evil and just play harmless tricks, and they joked about those moments where you're looking for something that was supposedly right in front of you the whole time. When I heard that, I got intrigued and decided to write about my experience. Story by Ellen, The Ziggy Signal. Around 2 years ago, I had a serious health issue which caused me to spend a lot of time in bed, which led me to thinking a lot about life. I'm 63 years old. When I was in my 20s, I was not a good person, and I lost contact with people who had been important to me. I was too proud and embarrassed to reach out, but this health issue changed the way I looked at things, and I ended up connecting with several old friends and making peace with them and with my past. And then there was Ziggy. Sometimes, the universe has to do a little extra to break into your heart. My first job out of college, I worked with Ziggy. He took me under his wing and became a mentor to me. We were working in Dallas, but he was born and raised in a town near San Antonio. One weekend, he took our team there for a camping trip on land that his family owned. I have never been back, but whenever I hear the town mentioned, I think of him. After working together for a couple years, Ziggy moved to a different company and I followed him. We worked together for about 2 more years when we had a falling out. I won't go into the gory details, but he was pretty mad at me. I felt like it was unfair and that he had as much a part in the falling out as I did. I changed jobs in the company and never saw him again. This was around 1991. We never connected on Facebook or LinkedIn or anything like that as social media came around. Now, I'm living near Houston with my husband John. We are getting a puppy from a breeder who lives in the town where Ziggy was raised. My husband and I plan to drive there, meet the puppies and spend the night in a hotel, and drive back the next morning. For those not familiar, San Antonio, Houston, and Dallas make a big triangle and are 4 to 5 hours apart from each other. The few days before we left, thoughts of Ziggy came back to me, and again I kept thinking that it was not my fault. He was as much to blame. John and I were on our way to meet the puppies, and I told him about Ziggy, and realized that if it wasn't for him, that I wouldn't know John, because I met John at the company where I followed Ziggy to. John said that he would like to send him a thank you note. We got to town, met the puppies, and then went to the hotel. While my husband was checking in, I noticed a pile of local newspapers on the counter. I thought that was interesting, that this town had its own newspaper, and looked down and saw on the front page there was a picture of Ziggy. He and 3 other people were pictured and captioned. He has a very unusual first and last name. Ziggy is not his real name, obviously. And it was obviously him. I was so surprised that tears came to my eyes. That night, I found him on Facebook and reached out. Based on his Facebook profile, he just lives a few miles from where the puppies are being raised. If he responds, I will apologize and tell him that I was wrong and ask him to forgive me. I personally know a lot of people who would just equate this to a coincidence, and that's fine. Maybe it is. I think it's more. I think the universe, maybe it's guardian angels, entities watching over us, they can help us correct mistakes, to assuage our guilt, because we all have regrets, right? We don't get to fix every mistake we make with other people or with things. But sometimes, when it's really important, I think the universe can create these opportunities for you in instances you would never ever expect. It's so important, right? Because we have to look inward. We have to know who we are, who we were, to know who we are now. You can improve who you are now, even if you have regrets. Just learn from the past and try to make amends. That is the most important thing in life, is to figure out who you want to be. And the steps to get there usually involve correcting the errors you made in your past. Not everything can be fixed, but of the things that can be, if the opportunity presents itself, yeah, go for it. Even if the universe doesn't create the opportunity for you, sometimes you can force it through anyway, so always be on the lookout for those chances. I do hope he responded for you, and you can go from there. Story by Better Being 3809. The Dryer Strikes Back. Sorry if this story seems all over the place. It just happened an hour ago, and my brain is still trying to register it. So I washed my bed sheets and pillowcases for my bed and the spare bedroom bed. I took everything out of the dryer, put it all into the clean laundry bin, then took the other sheets out of the washer and put them into the dryer. I separated everything by room, and I know I didn't make a mistake because I'm crazy like that, and I have to have crap perfect to make my life easier when making the beds. Anyway, I proceeded upstairs to my bedroom to make my bed so I can go to sleep. I got the fitted sheet on the comforter, then took the clean pillowcases out of the basket and placed them onto my bed. Then I turned around to grab the pillows off the little love seat that I have in my bedroom. When I turned back around to put the pillowcases on, they were gone. 2 very specific pillowcases. One has seashells on it, one has sea turtles on it. And I mean gone. I tore up my freshly made bed, searching under the comforter and even the fitted sheet. I searched everywhere, and they were gone. And I swear I had them in my hands. I placed them onto the bed. I decided not to get frustrated and drive myself crazy, since I wanted to just go to bed. So I waited until the other sheets were done in the dryer so I could use those pillowcases for the night. Well, when I opened the dryer, guess what was in there? The seashell pillowcase and the sea turtle pillowcase, mixed in with the other bedsheet? I would never do that, and I had them in my hand all the way upstairs. I'm getting serious chills typing this, and my mind is spinning. Because what just happened? What actually just happened? Did I just experience a glitch? Story by Mama NAJ 871622. The Blanket Boomerang. I go to a laundromat every week. This visit, I washed all of our blankets, including a queen-size blanket that I crocheted. It has a very bright and distinct color, and, being crocheted, stands out. I dry and fold all of our comforters and blankets and stack them up. When I get home, my fiancé takes said pile of blankets from my hand and brings everything into our bedroom. He remembers seeing the crochet blanket because it's a blanket he uses. He sorted all the kids' blankets, made the bed, and I went to put his blanket at the foot of the bed. It was not there. I looked in the living room, not there. We figured we brought it into our kids' room by mistake. They were sleeping by now. We will look in the morning. Morning comes, and this blanket is nowhere to be found. My fiancé specifically remembers seeing it in the pile of blankets. I know I folded it. We search everywhere, the car, etc. It's not there. Well, later that day, I got a picture via text from the owner of the laundromat of a blanket left behind in the dryer. The very crocheted blanket that we were looking for. We knew I brought it home the night before, yet there it was in the same dryer I was using. I still don't understand what happened. Story by Shroomer Alert. The Wall of False Certainty. I moved into my parents' old house. They're away on vacation. In the house, there used to be this poster board for a science project I made in 6th grade about light pollution and star visibility that was not there. I remember it pretty vividly compared to objects in my home because my dad, who I don't have a good relationship with, yelled at me for how bad the poster looked all those years ago. I'm in my 20s now. I know because I remember looking for it everywhere and assuming it got thrown out the past few weeks. I stared at the walls in the apartment looking for it and curious where it went, and assumed it was just gone. Whatever, I didn't have that much attachment to it. After my shift from work one day this week, I come back and the first thing I notice is that the poster board is suddenly there. Leaned up against a white wall where I'd stared at and zoned at countless hours the past few weeks. The board was 100% not there before. I remember observing the blank space countless times and standing right in front of the wall. I would have noticed the board and had some thoughts on it. This is a fact. The poster board brings up too many memories not to. I am scared as hell because my first thought is someone broke in. But why would they do that with the poster board and not interfere with any other valuables? A few hours later, I noticed there were even traces of dust on it, as if it had been untouched for weeks. Honestly, I'm disturbed and have no logical explanation. I don't think anyone would break into my house just to mess with me or put the board there, dust and all. There's so many other things they could have tampered with or taken, if so, and not much else seems to be out of place. If having a bit of a celestial quality of the star theme also makes me wonder. I texted my mom about it that night, and she said she had put it there herself 3 weeks ago. What's extra frustrating is I had tons of pictures on my phone of the living area that just narrowly cut off what the wall looked like before by centimeters. Just want to know if I'm crazy or not. So funny. Story by Kim Young-hoon, Peripheral Darkness. This has happened a few times throughout my life. I would have my computer screen on as usual and leave my room to do something else. On very rare occasions when I came back, the laptop screen would appear black for a moment and I'd see in my peripheral vision for a split second. Only upon focusing on it fully would it go back to whatever I had left on it. What's actually weird about this is I always have the setting for turn off the display after X minutes set to never. This is always the first thing I do on a fresh Windows install. I don't touch the laptop or move the mouse before this happens. Not that I would even have time to. And the first thing I do upon entering my room is look at my laptop screen. I don't think it takes any longer than half a second. Certainly not enough time for me to record it, since I never expect it to happen anyway. This phenomenon doesn't happen with anything else. I don't have vision problems, never blacked out, and I've never lost touch with focus or reality. Nothing of the sort. Another similar rare occurrence is that I would sometimes enter the URL to a website and let it load while I do something else. Then when I return, the website only fully loads when I come back and look at the screen. Both of these events happen very rarely, and I'm more inclined to believe this one is just a coincidence. But I know enough about computers that the screen appearing black for a split second is definitely abnormal. Has anyone else experienced this? Also, to be clear, it happens on other people's screens too, very rarely. Is there a logical explanation for this occurrence, even given the fact that my laptop will never turn off the display on its own? Story by The Philosophy Clerk. Coffee train, no ring. So shortly after getting rather serious with my now ex-girlfriend, she gave me a ring of hers to wear. It was a simple, unisex, gold decorative band, much too small for my ring fingers, so I wore it on my pinky. And here's the thing, it was a rather tight fit. Well, one day, I was traveling to see some family out of state. It was morning, and I was sitting at the train station. Here's the strange part. I remember I had the ring on when I bought a coffee at the shop because I saw it on me. It was early and I had a lot of time. So, I walked to the bench and sat, watching the old-fashioned flipboard they had for my train's arrival. All of a sudden, maybe just a few minutes later, I looked at my watch and happened to glance at my pinky finger. The ring was gone. Just gone. I felt instant dread at having lost her ring. So, trying to compose myself, I retraced my few short steps carefully. Since it was so early, there were precious few people around nearby. The ring wasn't on the floor, it wasn't at the coffee shop, it wasn't near the bench, in my coat pockets, it was just gone. A tight-fitting ring that I had to work off my finger each time just vanishes into thin air. I spent the next half an hour before my train looking and looking and looking, but to no avail. I felt terrible beyond words and I didn't know what to do. But strangely, my girlfriend never asked about it, and for non-related reasons our relationship ended the following year. She never asked for it back, never brought it up. It was like the thing never existed in the first place. Even today, I can't figure it out. Story by Somebody Else 22. The Potato Vendor's Return. To set the scene, my wife is from a rural Caucasus village. When a person dies, the tradition is they are placed in an open coffin. The attendees transport the coffin to a nearby graveyard. The lid is closed and the coffin gets covered over with soil. The story concerns a lady in her mid-30s who died. Funeral went ahead. Burial took place. Husband and family got on with picking up the pieces. Approximately 2 years later, a driver of one of the village buses was at the local bazaar when he started screaming and yelling. He ran up to a lady who was selling potatoes and claimed she had died and been buried. She said no. Last night, she was with her family. She and her husband had cleaned the potatoes together, and today she was on her own selling them. With all the fuss, other people came along and confirmed she had died 2 years before. She called them all crazy and went back to the house she claimed to have come from. Her husband had a heart attack when she turned up, recovered, fortunately, but everyone was adamant that though it was actually her, they'd buried her 2 years before. Naturally, they dug up the coffin. Empty. She then settled back into living where she claimed to live. Her husband died a couple of years later, with people saying the shock and circumstances had turned his brain. As to her eventual life or death, I don't know. This is where the story peters out. Interesting, though. So, this is a pretty fun story, and while I'm not entirely certain it's a glitch, sometimes I prefer those where there's ambiguity and you're not entirely clear on it. In this case, is it just a woman that wanted to fake her death, maybe to marry a different man? The lengths people will go to sometimes. Other than that, it's like the second coming of Jesus, where she rose from her grave, her potato grave, and went on to continue her ordinary life. I don't know. That would be a question, though, for people. If you died, but rose from the grave, and not like quantum immortality style, where you're just in a different universe, soul transferred. In this case, actually rising from the grave, like Dean in Supernatural, only your soul was hopefully not in hell. That would suck. So you just rise from the grave. But then how couldn't be, well, no, if she faked her death, then she probably had outside help. Someone came to the graveside and dug her up. But I wouldn't risk that. What if they're late and you just run out of air? Man, it reminds me of that movie Buried, I think, with I forgot his name. It's not Adam Sandler. No. Ryan Gosling? Ryan something. He was in Blade. And of course he's Deadpool. Why can't I think of it? I gotta look that up. Ryan Reynolds, of course. I think he was in that. But is this movie where someone wakes up, they're buried in a coffin, and they have a cell phone, and they're trying to get help? I can't say more, I don't want to spoil it because it's really good, but it's depressing. Don't watch it if you want to have a good night. It's one of those, really heavy gut punches. They ram your kidneys in and you're not going to feel good after watching it, but it's a incredible watch. Anyways, reminds me of that predicament, you could say. What do? You wake up and the person you had planned this with, they're just not coming, or they're late, or they don't go to the correct plot. What? That would be truly terrifying. Probably one of the most terrifying things I can imagine. So I don't know if she actually rose from the grave, or she never actually died some way, or there was some different universe playing out as a scene where she died. I don't know. By the sounds of it, her husband wasn't privy to it, or was just a good actor, but then died later on, so maybe she could be with someone else. I don't know. There's so many questions on this one, but that makes it so interesting to me. Story by 40Donnie04, A Parallel Breakfast. Me and my mom were alone that day. It was a Monday, so my dad left for work in the morning, and me and my brother were supposed to go to school and college, except I didn't go. I was watching YouTube, and my mom made lunch. It was a normal Monday, just that I was home. There were already signs that he stayed home. Earlier that day, I had seen my brother's bedroom door closed, the way he locks it when he's sleeping or simply inside his room, so I already started the day believing he was there with us. The day was normal, like I said before. At some point, I went into my room and started to talk with some friends by voice message. At some point, I started talking louder. When I noticed it, I went to check in on my brother to see if he was still sleeping. I had said some goofy stuff and felt so embarrassed thinking my brother heard that. I saw the door open just a little and had two thoughts. Either he went to the bathroom and went back to sleep, so he heard me, or he had gone to the kitchen and didn't hear me. I opened the door a little more and saw he wasn't there. After that, I went back to the living room and kept on doing my stuff. I never heard him in the kitchen, only my mom, but I wasn't paying much attention to it anymore. So I just let that run past me and started thinking that my brother had left for college in the morning with my dad after all. Lunch is ready, and I go to the kitchen to eat. My mom tells me to go get my brother, and I tell her that he's not here. Her expression shifted like she had just seen a ghost. Are you serious? Are you joking? She was genuinely surprised. and that was weird. My brother isn't home on Mondays. And that's when she tells me. She tells me how she actually talked with my brother in the kitchen in the morning. And the conversation she described wasn't far from a normal conversation with my brother, who just woke up. And then I remembered about the whole thing with the door. I told her about it, and we started to freak out over it. There was no explanation. He couldn't have left later because there would have been a time I would have seen him, and also, he would have had to have asked my mom to order a taxi for him. Why would he leave his door completely closed in the morning after he left? He never does that. It was just inexplicable. After having lunch and freaking out about it, some more, we continued to do normal things for the day. At one point, my mom talked to my brother to see how he was doing and to tell him what happened. He did leave in the morning. He wasn't home when we thought he was. And well, at least it ended at that, and not something that would scare us even more. There are so many stories where people are just talking and interacting with their loved ones or friends who aren't really there, but I think they really are there. It's just their soul. It's a temporary copy of yourself or extension of yourself back to the places where you're tethered. My guess is, if the brother had died, the location where his soul astrally projects is the same place where he would be tethered to, while his remnant is still lingering behind. That is where their mind's energy, their soul's energy, is oriented. And they can't change that. Well, not directly. They'd have to have a different person involved in a different place that they think a lot about. If your brother eventually marries, then the tether spot can shift. Are there multiple tether spots? Probably. I don't know if there's a limit, but it's where our minds and our love is focused so intently. The familiarity of love. That is what the soul craves and is attached to. It's pretty cool, I think. But you're not aware of it. You can astrally project and not even know. Maybe I'm astrally projecting right now, and my mom back in Canada is seeing me. No notification of that yet, but who knows, maybe one day. That is a question. What is a mechanism? What is a trigger for that? How do some people do it? They never realize it unless, other people tell them. It's never happened to me. Have you ever had a doppelganger experience where someone tells you they were speaking to you, but of course you weren't there? It's not always this astral projection. It's not always doppelganger. There's a mixture involved, I think, related to the multiverse and all that. But yeah, I don't know what causes it. I would love to be able to trigger it. That'd be so cool. Story by Calamity May, Genesis of a Misdelivery. I had a really good idea for a video game pitch, also wanted feedback on other things, but I felt more comfortable securing a vouched introduction than trying to navigate talent representation. So I sent a $700 care package to a former Sega employee who hasn't worked for Sega for 20 to 30 years as far as I know. Seemed like a safe backdoor proxy introduction that should not have been met with corporate interference. Attached was my letter, inside, of course. The bundle included an HDMI modded Genesis personally modified by Stanislav, the architect, all the way over in Ukraine. So I sent this package praying to God she will see the gesture and see the care that went into it, read the writing sample I provided, and understand the sheer enormity of how good this idea was. Well, it arrived a day early, yesterday, and I didn't know because I assumed it would be today. Except, when I checked the mail at my place today, there the package was. Not returned to me by USPS mail, which is how I sent it, but next day aired back to me by UPS, and the header to the return address on the UPS store was labeled Sega. The package was unopened. Same tape in place. There were no exterior markings on it to denote anything Sega related had been put inside. This person hasn't worked on Sega's dime in over 2 decades. What the hell is all that about? Story by Item Unique 3373. The cap remains. So my work area is a constricted space. Just the desk, computer, chair, and trash can. The rest of the room is empty except for a small stool. I had brought with me 1 can of energy drink, 1 water bottle, and 1 Snapple bottle. I'm cleaning up to leave and I throw out the water bottle first. I'm holding my phone in one hand, then I grab the can and the Snapple bottle, but I drop the Snapple bottle on the desk to grab the spare bottle cap. This is when it gets weird. I look down to screw the cap on the bottle, and the bottle is nowhere to be seen. Not on the desk, not on the floor, not behind the chair. I even dig through the trash to look, even though I know I hadn't thrown anything in besides the water. This was legitimately weirding me out, and I spent the next close to an hour just looking for it as a clock ticked down. I cannot stress how there is literally nowhere that bottle could have been hiding that I wouldn't have seen it. Keep in mind the space where this happened was within a few inches around this desk. Honestly, maybe my mind is playing tricks, but I feel like I saw some type of small light on the bottom right of the desk right before it disappeared. The part that makes it so strange is that since it's unique due to being a Snapple cap, it sticks out so much, but it's just gone. Now time for the jokes of the day. Wife to ditzy husband. Why did you make the potato soup with 125 small potatoes? Husband? I know it seems like a lot, but the recipe called for 5 potatoes cubed. I got cast in a film about a bakery. It's not a huge part, just a small role. I bet it was delicious. I found $20 in the parking lot and thought to myself, what would Jesus do? So I turned it into wine. My boss said to me today, "You're the worst train driver ever. How many trains have you derailed so far?" I said it's hard to keep track. Came out of the shower naked this morning and said, "Honey, close the bedroom curtains. I don't want the neighbors to see me naked." She replied, "Don't worry, if they do, they'll close theirs." Damn. Savage. Alright, if you want more glitches, check them out up here, and I'll see you next time.